Hi.
Hello. Back with We'll Sleep When We're Dead intro. I like it this way, so we're gonna do it, okay?
I like it this way too. I think it's fun. And last time that we did it, well, who knows when we're releasing this one, but I just giggled the entire time listening to it back. I can't even
Oh my
imagine while you
gosh.
were editing it. We are just
We're a
so
hot
unhinged.
mess.
Well, I'm thrilled about our guest. Our guest is actually
Love this
someone that
guest.
wasn't she amazing?
She was so great.
Isn't it
Really
fun
liked
that we
her.
do these intros after we talk to them so then we can like kind of
Yeah.
process in the moment? She's so fun. Lindsay Levin is our guest. She's been a CMO multiple times over. You'll hear the whole intro, but she's had an amazing career and now owns her own executive coaching firm. And she
Mhm.
just gives us some really awesome insights about kind of what leaders are going through now, what her career
Mhm.
was like when she was having babies, just a really cool career, and she's just so fun. So
Yeah.
I think you guys will really enjoy it. I was so thrilled that she was willing to come on because she was kind of one of the first women in my career path that I saw having babies and having the
Mhm.
career that I wanted to have and kind of doing it all. And so
Also loved, we either talk about like our age kids or these kids that are in high school, and she has this like lovely
yeah,
little in the middle. And so she talked a lot about that. So I don't know. It was such a lovely, even as a stay-at-home mom, a CMO career coach I found so intriguing. So thank you, and enjoy.
bye.
Okay, bye.
All right. Well, hello and welcome to We'll Sleep When We're Dead. Welcome, welcome.
Hello.
We have a very special guest. And I say that because we don't always know our guests personally. And this time I do, which is so exciting. We have Lindsay Levin, who is a former boss's boss of mine, former CMO multiple times, board member, executive coach, mom, how many other hats have I forgotten that you've worn,
I'm
Lindsay?
also a VC now too, and I
Oh
teach at
my
Kellogg.
gosh.
There's a lot of hats.
Okay, I've forgotten
So many
like some
hats.
very critical
No,
Oh,
things. Oh
it's all
my
good.
gosh, so many hats. Amazing. Well, welcome. Welcome to the podcast.
Thanks.
So happy to have you. Okay, so I was thinking of a way to describe you, and I was like, I don't know that anyone uses this definition anymore, but you were like the big cheese at
Oh,
our X bar when I
oh,
was there.
the
You were
wow.
the big
That is that. I
Yes.
don't know if I've ever been called that. I don't know. I kind of like it. Let's go with it. Like a stinky
Well, you
cheese
know
or
why
like
it
a
was
delicious
it's
cheese.
big. The big,
The
yeah,
big cheese.
I only called you this because we got the big cheese. Highly recommend this book from the book fair last week. And I've been reading The Big Cheese to Henry every single night. And it
oh my
has a lot
God.
of cheese
Oh yeah,
references,
the
but
couch potato. They also have the sour
yes.
grape. Yeah, I love
Yeah.
those books.
Really good books,
Yeah.
like really good life lessons. Anyways, so I don't know if anyone's ever called you that, nor maybe should they, and they may never call
It's
you
my
that
new
again. But
nickname. I'm
anyways,
in. I'm in.
Lindsay and I worked together long ago when she was leading the marketing team at our X Bar, which was such a fun period of time. And you have just had such an amazing career with clearly lots of different hats that you've worn. And you posted on LinkedIn about your new journey into executive coaching. And I just remember looking to you when I started at our X Bar pre having kids and thinking like, wow, that woman's just like doing it. She is like a boss. She's a mom. She is like everything that I want to be in the career world. And so you were so kind when I reached out to say that you'd be on the pod and kind of talk about your journey. So that's why you're here, which we're so excited about.
Thanks, Lucy. Well, you are a rock star. I remember interviewing Lucy and being like, we've got to bring her in. And she was such a breath of fresh air. She was so smart. She's so easy to talk to. And I just love following your career and where you've gone since then. And I'm just grateful that I had the chance to work a little bit with you.
Oh my gosh, you're so sweet. Well, thank you so much. Well, I thought it would be fun when I reached out. The very first thing you said was like, I have so many stories about doing X, Y, and Z things while 9 months pregnant or whatever the case may be. So I thought it would be kind of fun just to start out, whether you take us on your career journey or like integrate it into like your motherhood journey, like however would be like most fun for you to tell. I think our audience would just love to hear kind of what that's looked like for you.
Yeah. Okay. So I think I'll start like with my career and then I'll weave
Yeah.
in
Love
baby
it.
kid stuff. Does that sound good?
Yep.
Okay.
That sounds
Perfect.
perfect.
So I didn't know what I wanted to do after college. I knew I was not a scientist, an engineer, a doctor, a lawyer. I was like, I'm going to go into business. And the
Mhm.
easiest way to go into business when you don't know what to do is you got to say business is
You got to.
consulting. You got to. And so I did
Uh-huh.
consulting, economic consulting for a couple of years. And I hated it. And there was one time I was at my desk. They kept us there for 40 hours straight. Like we didn't, not 40 hours in a work week, like 40 hours straight. But I
Oh my
learned,
gosh.
how to work in a cubicle. I had great friends there. I had a boyfriend there. It was like a first really good job out of
Great.
college, but
Yeah.
hated it. And I always tell people, don't really worry about what your first job is because you're going to learn either what you love or what you don't love.
Yeah.
And from there, I read this book called What Should I Do with My Life by Poe Bronson. And I honestly don't even remember if it's a good book. I don't know if I'd recommend it. But I remember one of the things that it said was like, go and think about where are places that you're happy. And I was like, oh, well, I love college and I love travel.
Oh.
And I landed up networking for a long time to get this job at Stanford, which is where I went to undergrad, which was designing these high-end educational trips with professors for alumni and friends of the university. From 24 to
Cool.
28, I was like designing these trips, marketing and budgeting them. And then I would lead like 4 trips a year to places like
Oh
Sri
my
Lanka
gosh.
and Tanzania and China and like all sorts of
So
crazy
fun.
places.
That sounds like the most amazing job that's ever been invented.
It
Yeah.
is the most
Wow.
amazing job that has ever, especially Lucy, when you're like 25 years old and you have 0
Yes.
responsibilities.
Yes,
Oh.
It is
exactly.
amazing. It was amazing. And I learned like how to problem solve. I had people who like almost died on me. I learned how to like bribe to get your way onto planes in Zanzibar. Like
Yes.
I learned all these crazy things and how to figure out things in the moment. And I also learned to be deeply curious because I'd be with these amazing
Mhm.
humans for like 3 weeks on end. I had nothing really of value to offer. And I'm sitting with these people who are like 50 to 85, and I would just like look at them in their eyes and ask them questions about their life. And it was such a great time to cultivate like that true curiosity
Mhm.
that I don't think I would have had the chance to had I been in like, back in the cubicle for a
Yeah,
while. But then I went to Kellogg. I wanted to go into marketing and I loved Kellogg. I mean, you went there,
the best. The
right?
best. And Sam and I have been friends for like almost 20 years. So she got to live the Kellogg experience with me when
Mhm.
I like
Mhm.
quit and went and did that full time. And it was just
Mhm.
so fun.
I
I would
Was
not
that
say it was like
annoying,
overly
Sam?
together.
Was that annoying for
serious.
you to hear about her do all of her fun business college stuff?
Oh my gosh. No, I'm so intrigued by Lucy because obviously I think I was a teacher. Maybe you've
Yeah.
gathered that
Yeah.
from. I don't think well, I know it's not my destiny career path and I don't think a stay-at-home mom, but like business was also not me at all, which I think is what's so lovely about having her as my best friend is like I have zero understanding of what she does, so all of it sounds so fun and cool. And like my favorite times is when Lucy does open up about like roller coasters she's experiencing and work and where she's going. Cause I'm just like, this is so new and fun. Tell me more. Like, I can't relate. So it's just like so fun to be her cheerleader where I'm just like, yeah, you should do that. No, don't do that. I don't know. I don't find it boring at all. I find it very intriguing because I don't have skin in the game. Like, I'm just kind of
Yeah.
like this like fun cheerleader on the side that just like sees my best friend working like so hard. And so, yeah, no, I love it. I mean,
I
that's
love
why
But
we
yeah,
it.
started the podcast too. Yeah.
Kellogg was fun.
It
That
was
was
a
a less
Yeah.
special.
hard working time, but a very special time for
Yeah.
sure.
Yeah.
And people ask me all the time, like, should I go to grad school and get an MBA or not? I'm like, I don't know if you should, but it changed my life.
Yeah,
Like
same.
Yeah.
I went into the career that I like loved. I met my husband.
Yep.
I met my best
Mhm.
friend who's my ride or die. This amazing group of people that like I adore and I learned a
Yeah,
lot. I mean, it was transformational for me.
totally.
Mhm.
Agreed.
Yeah. I don't know what
Yeah,
it'll be
not
like in
to
the
like
future,
I'm
but
so jealous that you're teaching there now.
it's
How
fun.
fun.
It's so fun.
oh my gosh. Did
And j
you
yeah,
did you do the classic 2 years quit
yeah,
like full time went yeah,
yeah,
that
yeah,
sounds
just
I
all
mean not
in.
to like yeah, that not to I can't really relate to that, but at the same time people these days talk about like college, is it worth it? It's so expensive and I'm like that with my undergrad. It was the best 4 years of my life. I could not do that anywhere else cuz we went to IU. We just had the classic college experience. Like
Mhm.
full campus, 40,000 people. literally the best experience that I'm like, I was worth every little bit of my student debt because when would I ever get that opportunity to
Right.
like be that person? So anyway, not to like interject, but I'm like, I can relate to that and the fact that like it was everything for me.
Totally, and I think a lot about our kids and, like, I don't know if there's gonna be college when our kids are
I
Oh my
or
know.
what that
gosh. We
experience is
talk
gonna
about
be
this
like or what
often.
the, like,
Yeah.
jobs are gonna
I
be like. I think
know.
about this all the time, but there's so much there's the academic side, and then there's the social emotional learning and,
Yeah.
like, the growing up that you do, and which is just you can't replicate in another
Yeah.
No.
environment, but
Yeah.
who knows? Maybe we'll have AI. I don't know. We don't know. No one
Yeah.
knows. But then I went to PepsiCo after that, so in Chicago, and I worked on the Quaker brand, and then I got married. I wanted to have kids. I was, like, almost 34 when I got married, and, like, I wanted to get the kid in the belly, you know
Yeah.
what I mean? So
Mhm.
I
Mhm.
I
Let's get
Mhm.
going.
let's get that so the day I got married, I went off birth control, and I did not
Mhm.
consult my doctor about this. I didn't really think
Smart.
about the getting pregnant. I just was like,
Yeah.
"Don't you just do it and then you get"
Mhm.
anyways,
Yeah.
and that was not I then, like, bled for a long time. Like, it was just not good
Oh, yeah.
parental planning at all,
Mhm.
um, and I had a miscarriage at some point and then eventually did, like and then those smiley faces that tell you when you're ovulating or not, which is
Oh,
just
yeah.
they're not those aren't right. Like, I don't think that thing
Nope.
knows. No.
No.
Mm-mm. And then eventually I did IUI, where they, like, send the Navy SEAL team into the back of your uterus, and then you
Mhm.
got pregnant from that, which was
I have never heard it described as that, and I will never be able to unhear
it's
that.
what they do. They take
Mm-mm.
the best ones, they really they
Oh
Mhm.
my
and then they
gosh.
throw them up there, and they're in the
Mhm.
back, and then they just it's worked for me. So that
Wow.
was great. And what's funny about my parenting journey is that when I was 9 months pregnant with my son, Jared, who's one of the co-founders of our X Bar, actually reached out to me on LinkedIn. And this was about a year into the company. It was 2014 at the time. And he was like, "Hey, would you be interested in joining us as a lead marketing?" And I was like, I don't think I responded because, like, no, I mean, I
Oh.
know that you can hire pregnant people that you can't
Right.
discriminate against, but no one, he was going to look at me and be like, no, no. And I also was not thinking about moving. I had, like, this stable career. I wasn't
Yeah.
even thinking
Mhm.
about this.
Yeah.
But then that summer, he reached out to me again. And at that point, my son was 6 months old. And I was like, why maybe we should think about this. Like, and I started meeting the team and getting to know the product and I was like, this is great. I love these
Yeah.
people. I'm old
Mhm.
compared to them, but, like, they're cool. And I joined that when my son was
Yeah.
10 months old. And I was the only
Oh my
mom, the
gosh.
only, like, I was 7 years older than everyone. They all kind of had grown up together. And that was, like,
And
how I joined.
Lindsay, what was that like being because I've now also been in startup environments and also been the only like young mom. I'm like curious, like, what was your experience? Because I think it's very different when you're in a situation where you're surrounded by a lot of people that are kind of in your same life stage, can relate to like, oh, you're gonna show up tired today because you slept 2 minutes
Mhm.
last night
Right.
Mhm.
versus like or a desire to go be with your kids or whatever versus kind of this perspective of like we are focusing on our baby and our baby is this product. Like this should be your sole focus. Like how did you kind of navigate
Mhm.
that, especially as a new mom?
Yeah. Well, and I was coming off of, like, PepsiCo where it's, there's this
Right.
it's like everybody has babies there. It's like
Yeah.
it's like a built-in factory
Yeah.
for people to have babies. So,
Yeah.
um, to be honest, I think it was, like, kind of so foreign that they were so cool with it.
Yeah.
And I
Mm.
would just leave and you know this, Lucy, but, like, startup environments are very results oriented. So you're
Yeah.
either getting shit done and it's working or you're not. And
Mhm.
Mhm.
I got a lot of shit done, and I would
Yeah.
have to leave, though. I mean, I was still nursing my son. I would leave at 5 or 5:15, like, race home, throw him on my teat, like, do the whole thing, get him in
Yeah.
bed, and then would just, like, be imprinted on my couch until probably
Uh-huh.
midnight,
Yep.
and that went
Yeah.
on for
Mhm.
A common
3
tale.
years. Yeah.
Uh-huh.
Mhm.
But I didn't really
Mhm.
think about like, I didn't it wasn't a trade-off to me because at that
Yeah.
time, the most important things in my life were my kids or a kid and then eventually kids, and then my work. And that's where I spent all of my time basically during that time. So I actually think they were really cool with it. Also, I was like an
Yeah.
alien with a kid, you know,
Yeah.
and it was never weird. They were never weird. They were really supportive of it, actually.
Sam, can you see now why I was so excited that Lindsay was on? Because
Yeah.
she is like, even
Yes.
just saying that, like, it didn't feel like
Yeah.
a trade-off because your two priorities were like work and your
Yeah.
kids. And that's
Yeah.
like kind of been my mentality for the last almost 7 years since Henry's been born, and just like
Yeah.
finding the right balance of what that looks like for me.
I'm like curious to listen to like the rest of your career, but like that moment, those moments are like so hard that we like, we're doing that right now in the sense that our kids are so young. And I feel like it's kind of refreshing to hear too that perspective from you of just being like, I just got it done. Like there wasn't a lot of time for me to be like, I think it's lovely that we talk about how hard it is and all that kind of stuff, but then I also think that it's okay to just be like, yeah, for a year or two, this is gonna be, like, really hard, and I'm gonna be really tired, and I'm gonna be working a lot and breastfeeding my baby all the time and being tired, and, like, just understand that, like, clearly you've moved on and been v incredibly successful, but, like, it's okay sometimes for us to have to just, like, be like, "Man, this sucks, but, like, this is my priority, I'm getting stuff done," and, like, it worked for you, so I don't know, I just find that really refreshing too.
Yeah, I would say it worked. I also think I had like massive trade-offs. So,
Mhm.
one, my husband like really picked up a lot of stuff in the house.
Yeah.
And we also at the time had a nanny who was really helpful.
Mhm.
But I remember, I mean, I had a lot of anxiety during that time too. And I remember, I remember one time it was my husband's birthday and I was like, I like made this reservation at someplace cool. And he was like in charge of all of that stuff, during that time. And then we like get to the restaurant and they're like, you booked that for like next week, ma'am. And I was like,
Oh.
oh, well, do you think you could
Oh.
just, do you
Can we
think
like switch it?
Uh-huh.
can we be here? We're here
They're like
now.
they're like, "No."
Yeah.
Mhm.
And so I think it
Mhm.
worked, but it definitely wouldn't have worked forever. But it was
Yeah,
Yeah.
of
like the
course.
right
Yeah.
thing at that time. And
Yep.
yeah,
We talk about that a lot on here, like, just because we're in the middle part of our career and we have people who've had older kids, and I've listened to a lot of podcasts, and I just, like, love this idea of, like, it's just I mean, we say seasons a lot, but it's just
right.
a chapter, like, it's okay that this is the chapter, and we've had quieter chapters and less busy chapters and less anxious chapters, and I don't know, I just always like to hear people's stories because it's like, yeah, you didn't get to where you got without maybe a few chapters that were, like, really overwhelming and hard, but you did it because we can. Because I think mothers are superheroes, like, we can do it if we want to do
Yeah.
it, you know? If we wanna do it, we can do it.
With help.
Yes.
Oh, yeah.
Yeah.
Yeah, we talk a
Yeah.
lot about that too. So you said a nanny, you said a very supportive husband. I mean, it doesn't just happen.
Right.
Yeah.
Right. And
So then when does baby number 2 come in?
uh, okay. So then I at some point had, I was doing that thing where like you're not trying, like if you're not trying to have a baby, like you could probably have a baby. Like
Yeah,
it's right. So
any minute.
Yeah.
yeah. So then I got pregnant, but then I lost that baby, which and then though I got pregnant again, and actually I think that was my body being like, this is not a good time for you,
Yeah.
lady, to have a baby, And then
Yeah.
but then I got pregnant again, and that was with my daughter, and this was probably like the most empowering time in my life and Lucy, this is probably around when I met you. I don't remember if I was
Yeah.
pregnant when I met you or not, but I was like very visibly pregnant when we were selling the company. It was over the summer of 2017, and I was often the only woman in the room, except for our like badass banker, who she's amazing. But I was usually like the only woman in the room besides her. And then I was like very pregnant, like large and in charge, And that was like a very powerful time for me. I felt like, yes, I am like here making life and
Uh-huh.
and I'm also selling this company, and that was really an incredible time. And actually, the week I gave birth was the same week that we sold the company. And
Wow.
then on maternity leave, like I had to go to some meetings and like brought my baby with me, and it was just, I felt like it that time really all worked, and I also had a lot more perspective, I think, than I did earlier on. But then I kind of fell back into some of my previous ways. And I remember this so distinctly, Lucy. You were probably on this call but didn't know this. This was after I came back from maternity leave and I had like a pelvic floor complication situations.
Yeah.
And have you either of you seen a pelvic floor therapist?
I
Yes.
haven't,
She like
but
changed me. Yes. Did you have success with one?
Yes. I mean, I had all this pain and
Oh, okay.
I had a lot of pain, but and this lady, she's Dr. Kate. She was so nice, and she does all of this like very physical, intense work on your body that like makes
Mhm.
you want to cry, like internally, and you're like
Yep.
crying. It
Yeah.
is so painful.
Mhm.
And I remember being in a session with her, and like I had to run from the office at like 2 and didn't want to tell anybody where I was going. This is when you're in the new building, Lucy,
yeah. Yeah.
and then I'm sitting there and I like insist on being on a call with Whole Foods. It's wh
Oh my
While
while
she was
gosh.
this
doing
poor
therapy?
Dr. Kate is like doing her business in my
Mhm.
business,
Mhm.
and I'm like,
Mhm.
and
It's
that's I
very
remember
internal.
it's very internal. It's very
Yeah.
uncomfortable.
Yeah.
And
Mhm.
later I just remember being like, why could I not either d- cancel one of those things, or like
Uh-huh.
Mhm.
and that was kind of I just remember that being sort of like a low moment of I'm clearly having a hard time making trade-offs with things right now, but,
Mhm. How has that evolved for you? Now, like, fast forward to where you are, you've
Yeah,
still,
especially now that you've started your own company now, right?
yeah,
yeah.
With
like,
this
how
executive
have
coaching,
you
like
been
how does that look now that you can control kind of your own destiny and what
yeah.
your day looks like?
I mean, I think you have to go through those experiences to learn and grow from them, and I don't all of that pressure was internal pressure. It wasn't like anyone was telling
Yeah.
me I had to be somewhere or had to do something. It was all internal pressure, and
Yeah.
honestly, it worked for me then. Like, it was a good thing in my career at that point, and I was exposed to coaching through we had a great coach at our Bar, Laura, and I had one more I knew I wanted to keep operating, so after our Bar, I took some time off, and then I joined a pre-revenue cannabis company because I was like, I want to do something in a crazy disruptive industry and did something similar there, but oversaw sales as well as marketing. But I was mostly working at a mix from home and then an office downtown. And then, and I just had a different perspective at that time and could create
Yeah.
some more of my own boundaries that I couldn't before. And then eventually after that, I knew I wanted to be a coach, and I went and joined Laura in her practice for 5+ years, and that was incredible. And then I just started my own practice. And so now I am both, I'm an executive coach. I spend about a quarter of my time in VC investing in the future of food and modern well-being. And then I sit on a few boards and then I teach at Kellogg. But it sounds like a lot, but it's all very variable and all under my
Yeah.
control. And my kids are at different
Mhm.
ages now too. I think the pressure that you feel sometimes with smaller kids is a little bit different than when they get a little bit older. But I just have, yes, one more perspective, Sam. Two, I've sort of like, created my own scars and now know where like which bumps to avoid and change like as every chapter changes, like I have to sort of adjust how I manage my life and what works and what buckets I need to fill.
Mhm.
So, but I wouldn't go back and change any of that I can laugh about it now and like kind of
Yeah.
tell it as like war stories, but
Yeah.
yeah.
Literally.
Yeah. It's really interesting because I've mentioned it. You mentioned your kids being a little bit older now, and I've told this before, but I always like to get people's take on it. Forever ago, pre-kids, I had a mentor basically say, like, when your kids are young, you're going to want to take a step away from your career because it's going to feel like they need you a lot. And it's going to feel like you are the one that can provide everything that they need. And she had older kids, like in high school at the time. And she's like, the reality is, like, when they get to be that age, they need you so much more than they need you when they're really young. And that stuck with me and
Hmm.
resonated with me like so profoundly because I've absolutely had those experiences, and Sam knows because she's lived it with me, where I've been like, is this the right thing that I'm doing right now? Like, should I be spending all of this time working, even though it is like really fulfilling for me? Because my kids seem like they need me like really desperately. And so I'm curious, like, what's your take on that? Because you were in the trenches when your kids were babies and you're now, the kids are older now. How would you take that advice? And like, does that seem right, I guess?
So I don't think I'm quite at the stage that maybe your mentor was, but I would
Yeah.
say I physically was there a lot with my kids when they were like I left the office, but I don't know if I was always mentally there because I was always thinking about what it needs to
Yeah.
get done for like the team that night. That shifted a lot after our ex, I would say.
Yeah.
But my so the age that my kids are now are like magical ages. My daughter is in 2nd grade and she's 8, and my son is in 5th grade and he's 11, and they're at this sweet spot right now where they are still so yummy. They still wanna be around
Mhm.
you, but they're also independent and love being with their friends. They can do things around the house. They're like my daughter's like a good hang, you know what I mean? Like, you wanna go out like, you wanna,
Oh.
like, go hang with her, and my son is a ball of fun, and he's hilarious, and they're just great kids, and, I always joke that, like, my son and as a 5th grader, as an 11-year-old, like, he still smells good,
Yeah.
and I'm like, I
Oh, because
but,
it
like,
doesn't happen in middle school, it's not gonna be that
no,
way.
no,
No, I taught
I
middle school
walked by
boys.
them,
No,
yeah,
no, no, and when
yeah.
you're
Oh my
pregnant
gosh.
and nobody knows and you're teaching middle school boys, no, it's
Oh
not
my
okay.
gosh.
I am so
No.
sorry,
No.
Sam. I can imagine the smells that were coming that were, like, nauseating.
Oh
Yeah.
my
Nauseating,
gosh.
Yes.
nauseating.
Yes. Yes. So, I'm not there yet, right?
Yeah.
So it's like
Yeah.
Yeah.
Totally.
and I think, even with boys, I think they are mature differently than girls, and I think I'll
Yeah.
probably feel it more when my daughter is in middle school than my son, because I think sometimes boys can be just a little more, like, oblivious to some stuff,
Yeah.
although he is doing, like,
Mhm.
his hair more now.
Mm.
But
Oh.
but they're really fun and sweet, and they're, like, the perfect ages, and I'm trying to hold on to that as much as possible before like, I love babies, I love
Yeah.
all kids. I love being pregnant, I love kids, like, I love all of
Yeah.
it, and I feel like, we're just at that point where it's gonna change a little bit, but it hasn't yet.
Mhm. And you know what, Lindsay?
Mhm.
We actually really haven't had anyone with, like, kids in your age range in
Yeah,
that, like,
we've the middle group is
preteen.
yeah.
So it's good to know because we're on the precipice of that in a
Yeah.
couple years. It's good to know
Mhm.
that it sounds like maybe it gets a little bit easier and more fun for a period of time before we hit the dark ages of teenage years, because
Yeah.
that
Yeah.
is something I'm scared of.
I'm totally
So,
terrified with you, Lucy, like, you know and I was a good teenager, you know what I mean? Like, I was,
yeah,
like, a good
same.
Mhm.
kid, but, like, I don't teenagers are now with the phones, like, just all the things.
Mm.
But I'm trying to stay here and not be there, and that
Yeah,
is really hard,
that's
but I'm
cool.
trying just to stay, like, where they are right now.
Yeah, yeah,
I wanna hear more about your coaching, but I just wanna, like, take a pause really quickly and hear your answer, I guess. Like, you talk so much about how, like, your kids and you love them, and then you also had this, like, amazing career. Did you have a push and pull of kind of what we're talking about? Like, should I be staying at home? Am I really doing this? Or
I think when I was at PepsiCo, I remember, like, fuck sorry, I hated pumping, so I
oh,
barely got any
oh,
milk, I had these tiny little
no.
boobies, like, just not a lot of things came out. It was just and I
If
would
you put
sit
that
there,
sound on the thing right now, I would probably have to end the
freak
podcast. I
out.
would be
It's
like,
the worst.
Get it out of here." Yeah.
And you're
Ugh,
sitting in those
ugh,
little hot rooms in your shirt. It's just god awful,
horrible.
and I remember, like, you're supposed to, like, look at pictures of your baby and, like,
Uh,
try to and then I remember, like, looking at the one, little camera in the kid's room and, like, my nanny's there, like, holding it. I'm like, "Why am I not there?
yeah.
Like, why am I
Yeah.
here?" Like, and getting
Ugh.
1.5 fucking ounces of milk when my there
Sweating.
with sweating with the
Ugh.
nanny and
then taking it home on the L, like, there were
Oh,
with the
just
lunch bag,
and
and
then
then
washing the
terrible.
bottles when you got home for the next day.
like,
Oh
this
my
was a
gosh.
thing that and I love nursing so much. I love nursing so much. I really hated pumping. I mean, no one likes pumping. So, I think that was a time when I really felt like, "Oh," but I don't you know, and then now I'm very much more conscious about, like, it can't just be work and kids. Like, I
Yeah.
have, like, very deep social needs. I have
Mhm.
that I am, like, finally fulfilling more. I have, family needs. I have, like, health needs, and so I'm really
Mhm.
think about those different buckets, and I always wanna do a lot of things, but, like, there's some things I can't do, but I would say my distribution is much wider now than just work and
Yeah.
kids too. But
Mhm.
I also have a career that enables that
Mhm.
Yeah.
at some
Mhm.
points.
I like the
Yeah.
idea of distribution. Like
Yeah,
I
for
like the
sure.
mental picture of that, of like how you're kind of able to spend your time and your energy, because
Yeah,
we talk about
Totally.
energy on here a lot.
totally.
Okay, so I'm curious, Lindsay, in this new, not new, because you were doing it for 5 years with Laura, like in this executive coaching kind of seat that you're sitting in, what are some of the challenges that women are facing right now? Like, is it similar to what we're talking about? Is it different? Because, we've heard so much about how the workplace changed after COVID and remote work and everything like that. I'm curious, like, is it the same as kind of what we've mentioned, or are there kind of new challenges that are coming up?
So I love all of my women clients. Like I just, I want to wrap my arms around them because they're such badasses and they're so in it. So I do think there's some themes that I see in general. One is like, especially if they're a founder of a company, this like high over functioning.
Mhm.
And that has oftentimes been their superpower, right? Because it's like gotten them to
Mhm.
start a company or if they have a family. But it also totally gets in the way. Like
Mhm.
they jump in and they try to fix everything and they don't delegate enough or cultivate a team or like build the culture that's going to enable that. They try to hold on too much. And so it's the balance of like, when do you really deploy that superpower and when do you need to diffuse it a little bit?
Mhm.
I think that's one. I think another one is this is sometimes with slightly more like I wouldn't say junior, but like a little bit
Yeah.
lower in their careers than a CEO, that their confidence actually it happens with my CEO founders too. I take that back. Their confidence can be dependent on who's in the room. So, and this happens to me
Mm.
too. Like sometimes when the stakes are high or when there's certain personalities in the room, our confidence shrinks and yet our capabilities are just as strong as they were when they were sitting in a room with somebody else. And so a
Mhm.
lot of times it's thinking about how do you reframe who's in the room? How do you visualize differently? How do you lower the stakes for that environment? Um, One I deal with a lot with founders is just like loneliness. They don't
Mm.
have, they maybe have a great team, but they can't talk to them about some of the things that are inside their heads or that they're really dealing with. And so
Yeah.
I appreciate the opportunity to be a space to process some of that um, and take that really seriously. But, oftentimes there's all sorts of problems that come to their desk because no one else can solve them. And then some of the things that they can't solve, we end up working through together. And they just can
Mm.
feel sometimes alone and like they're carrying a lot of weight and a lot of responsibility, and they are, you know?
Yeah.
Mhm.
Um,
Which is
another
so
yeah.
interesting, Lindsay, because like the interesting thing about this podcast is like I obviously work, Sam stays at home, but like some of these themes actually I think are perfectly resonant with what Sam goes through on a day-to-day
Oh, yeah.
basis. Like I think about like let's just use loneliness as the one example from here. Like you have been so intentional about finding your mom community to combat that so that you're not
Mhm.
the only one like sitting there processing everything like and that is not dissimilar from what you're speaking to, Lindsay. So I think it's
Mhm.
interesting to think about how those themes can have parallels.
Yeah, because,
Totally,
we're
or
just
like you
humans. Like,
yeah.
we're just humans in a home context or in a work
Yep.
context, like, it's the same stuff, it's just in a different
Totally.
place. Sorry, Sam, what
Or
were you gonna
like the
say?
fact that they sorry, no, the fact that like they feel like they can't talk to people about certain things. They're like talking about very important business things, but on the opposite of a stay-at-home mom, I feel that way because I'm like, if I have to tell another person that all I did today was laundry, it's going to make me like my brain is going to explode because I know I'm better than just doing laundry, but some days that's actually what I do. And so it's also like that kind of like I can't like my husband will be like, "What did you do today?" I'm like, "Do not ask that question."
Right.
Like I will offer you the things I think are worthy of telling you, but other than that, if you ask me what's on my desk or what's on my plan today, I'm just going to look at you cuz I like yeah, like I can see totally on an opposite spectrum of just being like, I have nobody to talk to. I don't know how to process this. I'm now feeling things about myself that I don't love. So, yeah, I can see the transfer. I mean, people sometimes say moms are CEOs of their families, and I love that. But like, sometimes I feel like, am I worthy of that title? But I agree with you. I do think that
You are
there's a
worthy
lot
of
of
whatever title
transferable.
feels good for you, Sam.
Agreed.
Thank you.
Yeah. Yes,
Thank you.
including
Thank
the
you.
big cheese, okay?
we're gonna edit that out. I can't believe I said that. Really coming off of
No, I mean,
bedtime.
I'm thinking we
No,
need to
I
give
no,
it
it's a good
away. I
book.
think we need to give that book away during the like at the end of this episode. I think we need to like give the big cheese to
That
some
would be
listeners.
cute. That whole
Oh my
series
gosh.
is so good. Wait, okay, and I have to say 1 or 2 more because
Yes,
there's
please.
Yeah.
Sorry,
okay.
I interjected because
No,
I just
no,
love the
Yeah,
themes.
same.
but this is relevant too for home life is like saying the hard thing. Like I have so many clients who come to me and like they'll be complaining about something going on. This could be in the house too, right? And it's like, well, did you say something? Like, have you said
Mhm.
anything? And they're like, well,
Mhm.
yeah, I sent this, or I sent an email, or I put this like in Slack. I'm like, what in Slack? Like, this is a conversation that you like put your arm around them and be like, we got to talk about this, and
Yeah.
really
Mhm.
get clear on what would be amazing and then what is the issue and what's going on. And I can't tell you that is like one of the topics that comes up all the time. And then all the drama that gets removed in your head and in a meeting when something is actually said. So that
Said.
is,
Mhm.
and you can think about that even like with your husband in the house or with like your kids. Like, are you saying it in a way that they're gonna get, or are you just saying it in your
Mhm.
head and being angry? You know, like
Mhm.
ruminating.
Mhm. Mhm.
I've never
Totally.
done that.
Me neither. Yeah.
I'm
Or like
always crystal clear with exactly what I'm thinking and I communicate it
Right.
perfectly.
Always. Me
Uh-huh.
too. Yeah.
No.
but are you finding this like I don't know what the ages of these people because obviously there's founders that are 22, but I feel like in my own personal life, like that has been such the joy of getting older. I'm not good at it yet, but I'm so much better than I was at 25, 27. Just in other things too, of telling friends like simple things like, no, I don't want to go on that trip with you
Mhm.
guys. I want to save that time for something else. That would have taken me at 25. I would have been sweating. I would have made up a
Yeah.
lie. But now I'm just like, no, that's actually not where I want to spend my time. And, like, as simple as that and again, I'm not really good at that in terms of maybe the home stuff and other things, but I do think that age has helped. So I don't know if you see that with your, like, with your coaching, or is it all just still hard?
I think like some of that directness, I do think it's an age thing, but sometimes
Yeah.
these issues at work they're really layered and they're complicated. And sometimes there's
Yeah.
a lot of blame placed when really it's just a clear
Mhm.
conversation that needs to happen that's direct in terms of redirecting and behavior. And, oftentimes it's like, well, should I just fire them? And I'm like, well, maybe, but let's talk about like what's working and what's not. And how do we
Mhm.
figure out, do you want to try to give feedback, or not? Like, it's not that it's
Yeah.
necessary, but that
Mhm.
oftentimes can really help. Like, and then you're helping grow them at the same time versus just
Yes.
battling it out in your head.
Mhm.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Those are all really good. I feel like the confidence and capabilities one is the one I'm going to sleep tonight thinking about.
I'm
Mhm.
working with this client right now on this, and I'm like, just imagine them. Like, we're doing all these like funny visualizations with these like big men in the room. And I'm
Yeah.
like, how do we
Mhm.
deflate this? Like, what did they look like as kids? They probably had like snot or like pimples.
Oh my
We're working on
gosh.
mantras. I mean, that's a little bit more of the woo stuff I do sometimes, but it's real. Like you lower
Yeah.
the stakes and
Mhm.
you can perform so much better.
Yeah.
Mhm.
I love
Totally.
that. Yeah.
Well, I want to hear about because I know you don't only do moms in your coaching, but obviously
Yeah.
you are one, and I want to hear about a few and all the moms that you coach because I think all of it is very interesting. But I loved the question about what are you finding these high functioning people having to almost the distribution, like what are they not prioritizing? If it is motherhood or work, like how are they making that distribution work for them? Because I think that is also something that can relate to every mom out there who's, you know, trying to be a founder of a company or also just trying to run their home. We talk about energy a lot on our podcast of like where are we focusing on our energy? And I've had a light bulb moment of realizing like I'm probably that high functioning of like, oh, some of my things can have low energy. Like I actually don't have to put a lot of energy into certain things. And that was like really freeing to hear. So I'm curious in more of the work world, like, do you also have conversations about that of like helping people be like, okay, well, let's like focus of where we can distribute better?
Yeah. Yes. So it's a great question. And I think there's a couple things that we do. One is we look at like what are the things that are fully zapping your energy. and how can we remove those as much as possible? So if those are like
Yeah.
Mm.
reds when you look at them in your calendar or you're dreading them, or sometimes you're over functioning. Like I have this amazing founder CEO. I adore her. And she's been running this company for like a decade. And she was still reviewing like Instagram posts, and I was
Oh.
we gotta let's cut that. Like it's okay. You don't, and so there's certain things where you're like, where do we just remove, right? Like
Mhm.
delete is like there's this
Yeah.
delegate, delete, whatever. Where do we just delete?
Mhm.
Where do we delegate things that are like taking energy? And then I think we're all guilty of feeling like we have to fill time. And
Yeah.
I think one of the things I know I always need to work on and all my clients need to work on is having some stillness and space.
Yeah.
And
Mhm.
that's really hard. I remember when I was at RX, this was still back on Carroll Street, I think. You joined us in
I didn't
Ohio.
ever see Carroll Street. Nope.
Oh, Carroll,
Yeah.
yeah, there's a lot of car break-ins
I
on Carroll
heard
Street.
so many stories
So
though.
many
Yeah.
stories. But I remember Peter told me, he was a CEO. He's like, I would like for you to take Wednesday afternoon off and like go do yoga. And I loved yoga, but like I was like, what? What? He's like, I think you
Mhm.
need just some like space. And I'm like, I
Mhm.
remember going to the yoga class, like some core power class in the West, whatever it was, near the
Yeah.
office. And I was like, my boss told me I needed to be here, like, and I'm like a fun, vibrant person, but I brought like the worst energy into that yoga room
Yeah.
ever, like
Yeah.
anxiety sweat versus regular sweat. But I often find that just they're so jammed from meeting to meeting. And Lucy, you know this,
Yeah.
like you literally are
Mhm.
meeting to meeting to meeting, that there's no space to take a step back and look, work on the business, even just have some mind space. Like I know me now, I'm
To
always listening to
think.
podcasts, I'm listening to music, I'm like
Yeah.
Mhm.
doing, I'm like trying
Mhm.
versus just having space. So that
Mhm.
is one. And then, exercising and sleep and things like that,
Mhm.
that just fall to the wayside with a lot of my clients. The other thing that reminded me of that I tell clients too a lot is they're so in their own company that they're not like talking to other people.
Mm.
And
Yeah.
I'm like, you
Mhm.
live in this like really weird planet called
Yeah.
mush or whatever it is. Like
Yeah.
you're in this like
Yeah.
weird freaking little planet. Like go talk to some other CEOs or go talk to just other moms or go like
Mhm.
have time in your calendar, not for social, but also for like, and they often come back with great ideas from that too, just from like
Yeah.
Mhm.
connecting with other people in other spaces that
Yeah.
your brain like is meant to have all these little synapses firing in different
Mhm.
ways, but like if we keep carving the same deep paths, like we're going to keep thinking the same freaking things.
Yeah.
Mhm.
Yeah.
So I
Mhm.
love that for
Yeah.
your
I think that's
husband.
great.
Yeah.
Well, I can't believe it. We're like almost at time,
I
which is crazy. As I
know.
knew
It's
I knew we would just get
crazy.
chatting and it's so crazy, but I wanted to ask you because you were such a mentor icon. I don't know what the right
So
word
nice.
is as I became a mom in this working world and I was just so inspired by how you did it, how you showed up, all of that. I would be curious, like, if you could talk to me pre-kids and, like, give any sort of advice for someone that's as ambitious as you are, maybe, like, kind of like, whatever the advice might be, but I'm really curious about, like, systems that worked really well for you when you were in that period of time. You've kind of spoken to some of them, but, like, how you how you would kind of guide someone on making it work.
Okay. Well, I don't know because I'm still figuring that out. But okay. I I would say a couple things. One, I make so many mistakes all the time. Like, I will land up yelling at my kids and which is just I literally feel like my chest starts to tighten. I feel so sick afterwards. But then I go and, Dr. Becky repair with them, right? Like I go
Yeah.
and say, God, I am so
Mhm.
sorry. Here's what I did wrong. Here's what I'll do next time. It's not your fault. And that is just one thing. Like you will lose your shit sometimes, and
Mhm.
that's okay. Like
Yeah.
just go back and repair. And that happens with
Mhm.
everyone in my life, right?
Yeah.
And so I think that's one thing is like you're totally gonna make mistakes and repair and then just learn from them. And
Yeah.
I like to
Mhm.
think I'm learning from myself a lot, like
Yeah.
that's That's one. And then I know you guys have talked about this before, but I think there's different systems that work for different times in your life. And we have, I think, my husband and I have like a very strong division of labor in our house. We both work, and he is like more in charge of like I would say the fixed elements in our house. Like, I don't think I've ever bought toilet paper. I could count on my hand the number of times I've filled the car with gas. Like, I forget which side of the gas tank it is because it's
Yeah.
so there's certain elements that like the fixed items, I would say he's really great at. I do a lot of the variable elements, like anything related to school, anything related to camp, anything related to doctors, anything related to illnesses,
I
anything
like this like
packing.
description of splitting it. That's
I mean, and
cool.
we haven't defined it, but he's like crazy logical, efficient,
Yeah.
kind of, very almost to a fault. Sometimes I'm like, "Are you a robot? Like, hello?" And so those types of things are really good for him. Whereas I
Yeah.
have a lot more variety and interest and flair, and so that shows up in other ways with our kids and like our life. And
Yeah.
so I think really figuring out who's does what in the house, whether we have outside help if they help too, or
Yeah.
we also have like we're lucky to have a lot of support, familial support. I don't know if
Yeah.
that's but his whole family lives very close to us and are very helpful. My parents will fly up and they're both healthy and they will like come up at the drop of a dime or whatever the phrase
Yeah.
is. And that is really helpful. We do right now have an afternoon nanny who comes Tuesday, Wednesday, Thursday, just from like literally 4 to 6.
Nice.
And that's really helpful.
I think it's great.
Wonderful.
I think
I don't know if
it's
I'm
yeah.
answering.
I think it's perfect
No.
because the reality is like I think everyone's systems look a little bit different. Like
Yeah.
half the reason that we moved back to Indianapolis was because Kevin and I both wanted to have careers, and getting close to family was what was going to allow that to work, and it really has. Like our family goes above and beyond and is so helpful. Sam's done it like through au pairs because she doesn't have a lot of family in New York. So there's just I always love to hear how people have managed it in different ways, and that's amazing.
And you have to know
So
like what
cool.
you need. Like I know I need a lot of
Yes.
social time. And so I'm like,
Yeah.
how do I not a lot, but like how
Right.
do I make sure I structure that? I have to exercise. Like
Yeah.
how do like I need warm weather in the winter, which I didn't get this year, and I feel like I'm gonna shoot myself because
Yeah.
but
Yes.
you just have to figure out
This
where
winter.
what yeah, right? I know.
It was
I'm
Are you
so
in
so
done with
snowy
it.
Chicago?
today.
Are you in
Yeah.
Chicago?
Yeah. I'm not
This
surprised though.
winter.
I'm like, why am I always surprised? And I'm like, I'm not
I
surprised.
know. It's just
I know,
yeah,
it's
it's the
horrible.
worst.
But forgetting to end on like I mean, you obviously just said with your systems, but because you said a few times you're social and you love to exercise, we love to say something that we do for ourselves that's not mom related. And so, do you have something that you have done this week, today, recently that you were like made a conscious effort for you to fulfill your cup?
So I'm kind of obsessed with like seeing shows, and I have a group of
Oh,
women that like we go to like dinner in the theater or a concert or something.
fun.
And so I just bought a set of tickets actually for a concert today with some friends, like in June.
Love.
But so that was one thing I did today. But like I have a lot
Mhm.
of those things like on the calendar to look forward to. You need
Yes.
that. And then
Yeah.
there's a lot of calendar invites situation that goes on for that. But like that's
Love.
So,
I love it.
so
know.
amazing. Lindsay,
Yeah.
thank you so
Thanks,
much. You are the
ladies.
best. Thank
Yeah.
you for
This
your
was so
time and
lovely.
for all the wisdom. It
Thanks
was
for
just so
having me.
amazing.
Thank
It
you.
was so
This was so
good.
All
great.
We'll
right.
chat soon.
Okay.